Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Grace Ace Attorney Chronicles. Last episode, we did the trial of the adventure of the runaway room. Shocking turn of events where it actually, I think Mr. McGill is dead. And we got our first trial in Great Britain, not guilty. So let's see what we have in store for us for episode 4. The Adventure of the Clouded Kokoro.
時折僕は思うのだよ、ワトソン。ホームズは物憂げに首を振り言った。我々が目にする事件は本当にそれが全てなのだろうか。その裏側に誰も知るもののない物語が隠れているかもしれない。ハーブティーから立ち上る湯気を追うその夢見るような眼差しの先には、きっとあの雪の日の夕刻の情景が浮かんでいたのだと思う。ブライアーロードの歩道に倒れ伏した若い女性とその背に刺さった狂人。ガス灯の明かりが柔らかく切り取った奇怪な事件現場の情景。不可解な姿なき犯人の事件は薄い霧の中、静かに幕を開けたのだった。
Alright, we got ourselves another murder, I guess? 19th of February, 9:47 a.m. British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice's office. Did you sleep last night, Mr. Naruhodo? No, not at all. It was an enormous hotel, wasn't it? The rooms were so luxurious it felt like we were staying in the palace, and while the gas lights twinkling, it was brighter than day even in the middle of the night. What about the enormous beds? After my time on the SS Speria, I wasn't going to waste a single inch of that space. I spent the entire night rolling from one side of the mattress to the other. Oh yes, it really was the sort of night you can only dream of normally. Except, when I learned that we owed £3 for the room, that dream quickly turned into a nightmare. Oops, sorry about that. The building was so impressive and the entrance was so inviting, I just wandered in without thinking. In a lodging house in Japan, the sum of money would put a roof over your head for a whole year. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't help my tears when we were presented with the bill. Ugh, I really am sorry. Well, never mind. We must find some more affordable lodging straight away, though. If we're not careful, our entire stipend will be used up in 10 days or less. Ugh, London is a scary place.
Ah, good morning to you at this early hour.
Strong heart. Oh yes, well... Good morning to you, Lord Chief Justice. We have come to report on the outcome of the trial at the Old Bailey yesterday. Sato sounds amazing. She doesn't bat an eyelid, even in the presence of an imposing Lord Strongheart.
Yes, I believe you had a very comprehensive initiation
with the British procedure. Oh yes, it was very eye-opening, thank you. And in accordance with your instructions, Lord Strongheart, Mr. Naruhodo performed his duty to the end.
Yes, I've already been apprised of events. You conducted a remarkable defense. You may consider the test pass. Oh? No longer you're a student from the Empire of Japan. You may henceforth claim to be a fully fledged lawyer. My country is delighted to welcome young talent from such a remote eastern land.
Thank you very much. So, a lawyer now.
Now, in your view of the new appointment, I have a fresh case in your mind for you. I'd like you to take it in at once. I trust that it won't be a problem.
Another case already?
Nothing trains a lawyer better than practical experience. I'm sure I don't sense dissatisfaction, do I?
It's just that yesterday's trial ended unusually. I haven't come quite to terms with
what to come to terms with. The man was cleared. What more were you hoping for? culpability of the defendant has not at the present time been established by the court. Consequently, the jury will not be required to prefer judgment.
Well, Lord Von Zeke, it's been a pleasure, so it has. Damn you, McGilded. As for you, my dear fella, I couldn't have asked for a better defense.
As he laughs off. Yeah, pretty sure this is a rigged trial. Just can't help wondering if Mr. McGilden really was innocent. Mr. Naruhodo, it's just that I never managed to ascertain the truth, and then the trial ended. Well, you needn't let it trouble you for a second longer. Sorry? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? Magnus McGilded passed away immediately following the trial. No! What? Mr. McGilded is dead? I have 19 minutes and 41 seconds until my next engagement. Time enough to talk. So he really is dead. How sad. Alright. What do you have to say? I don't understand what happened. How can he be dead? After the trial concluded yesterday, there was a great commotion in the Old Bailey. As you presumably recall, an omnibus has been wheeled into the courtroom. Yes, of course. Yes, of course, that was the scene of a crime which Mr. McGilda has been accused of. Precisely. Well, after the while the bailiff's attention was diverted by some other matter, the omnibus went up in flames. No. How could such a thing have happened? That is being investigated as we speak, but already. The police have identified a corpse from inside the charred shell of a carriage of that of Mr. McGilded. That's awful. The man must have slipped inside whilst the bailiff's attention was elsewhere. That bailiff really needs to pay more attention. And how could that have happened? That is also being investigated as we speak. Thinking back now, immediately after the trial, Mr. McGilda didn't mention going back in the courtroom to look at the omnibus. Yeah, strangely enough, why? Well, I must be making tracks now. This time for the inspection. Sorry, what inspection? They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself. I bet that bailiff is very sus. An inspection of the omnibus. Not to my knowledge, I don't believe Scotland Yard had any intention of re-examining the carriage. But who was Mr. McGilda talking about? Never mind that now, the Yard is making a thorough investigation. This matter is no longer any concern of yours, leave it to the police. Poor Mr. McGilded. British court. So, how did you find your first taste of our country's Supreme Court? Well, I don't know. I mean, it was... wow. Mr. Naruhodo means that the whole experience was steeped in the solemnity of Great Britain's long history. It's really a world apart from our own judicial system in Japan, which is only a few short decades old. Wow, Susato-san is such a way with words. And you seem to have a way of failing to find the right ones. The judicial system here is the most advanced in the world. Learn all you can. The most advanced in the world, is it? It was fortunate that your very first trial was a simple affair. Simple? That was simple? As I believe I mentioned yesterday morning, it was a trial that you couldn't lose. I don't mean to be contrary, Mr. Lord Strongheart, but the case was anything but simple. The circumstances of the case were so incriminating, I was stunned when I first heard them. In fact, I'm still finding it hard to believe that we managed to get a favorable verdict. Is something funny? What does he have in mind? No, my apologies. However, the fact is that You did receive the not guilty verdict you set out to achieve. And that can only be attributed to exceptional talent, wouldn't you agree?
Well, I don't know about that. We only wanted to find out the truth. It is very sad that we got a forced not guilty, despite, like, so many questions being asked.
Never mind, you exceeded my expectations, I freely admit. That much at least is the undeniable truth, which is precisely why I prepared a new case for you that I mentioned before.
What's going on? What was he going to say before? Could you perhaps give us some more details about the new case you mentioned? Don't tell me it's a murder and the trial starts in 10 minutes.
Don't worry, it's nothing so alarming or quite so urgent as your last assignment. In fact, this case is completely different.
Oh, I see. Did he just read my mind?
That is to say, no one has died as yet.
What? That is some flags. No one has died as of yet?
The trial will not be today. There will be plenty of time to research the case thoroughly. 23 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds to be precise.
Huh. So the trial's tomorrow then. Is everything alright? Oh, yes, I'm just a little confused, that's all. Yesterday's trial was, well, it left me wondering if I'm really cut out for being a lawyer. Oh, not Mr. Naruhodo. I don't know if I could face standing in that courtroom again after Mr. McGilded's trial.
Ah, yes, I nearly forgot. There is one similarity with yesterday's case. Once again, there is currently no one to advocate for the defense.
Oh?
If the situation remains unchanged, the trial will start tomorrow with the defendant unrepresented. If that happens, I need not remind you of the inevitable outcome.
The most terrible end awaits the defendant.
Yes, that's right.
Here we go again.
Your time is up. You will have to excuse me. I would advise you to make preparations for tomorrow's trial. After all, the clock is ever ticking.
So we got ourselves another trial.
There is now but 23 hours, 26 minutes, 29 seconds until the court sits.
Last time he mentioned the 23 hours, he said there was plenty of time.
And one more thing, Mr. Naruhodo. If there is something I should like to ask you.
What's that?
Yesterday you remarked upon something. That you intend to see through the will of your late compatriot, Mr. Asogi. I would be interested to hear what exactly you mean by that. Inside 34 seconds.
Oh, well, Kazuma always used to say, you see, that he wanted to learn how the greatest justice system in the world works so he could change ours in Japan. And now that he's gone, I'd like to work towards that myself, and there's another thing. Oh?
Another thing? Continue.
On the way here, on the steamship, he said something to me.
There's something important I have to do. Something very important? And what exactly would that be?
He never had a chance to tell me. Suppose he would have done if he ever made it to Great Britain.
You're out of time? Well, thank you for your enlightening discussion.
Mr. Naruhodo, what's all this about? Mr. Asogi never once mentioned anything of the sort to me.
I urge you to both focus your attention on the matter at hand. I've taken the liberty of summoning the police inspector in charge of the case. He'll be able to apprise you of the details.
How long has he been there?
So I wish you the best of luck and bid you farewell.
There's something very important that I have to do. Kazuma-sama, what do you mean? I wish I knew, but honestly, he never told me. Anyway, we had better talk to the detective, don't you think? Yes, you're right. I'm just hoping, I'm imagining it, but I wouldn't say he looks pleased to see us at all. Could we trouble you?
What do you think?
Lovely weather, isn't it?
What's the weather got to do? What's the weather got to do with anything? Listen to me, young Japanese upstart. Some frippery about the weather doesn't get every English jet eating out of your hand, you know?
But Susato-san told me it was foolproof.
I'm a busy man. There's a crime scene to investigate. I'm here to give the likes of you the talking to you.
Oh, I'm ever so sorry.
Can you imagine what the other officers there would be saying, Haven't seen Gregson anywhere, have you? No, he's busy with the bigwigs these days. All because some bumpkin who's in on a jaunt from a country never even heard of.
Heard that ripping sound as my reputation at the yard going to tatters. How much are you gonna eat that? There's no need to rip us apart as well. I don't believe we've been introduced. This is Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a defense lawyer.
Eh?
It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial
Eh?
It's lovely weather we're having today, isn't it?
It's unseasonably fine, I grant you. London's winters don't see a lot of sunshine.
Unbelievable. How did she pull that off?
So, Lord Strongman has asked me to fill you in on the case. The name's Tobias Gregson, Inspector Gregson to you. I'm from Scotland Yard.
Gregson? Inspector Gregson? What's the matter with Susato-san? Does this detective even mean something to her? Inspector Gregson. Inspector, are you perhaps the Inspector Gregson? I have no idea who this guy is. You're acting like you know this man, Mr. Sato, but he's a London detective. Oh, I do know him very well, in fact. Very well? Yes, he features prominently in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Oh, in that publication. What's it called again? Randats Magazine? That's right, Inspector Gregson and Mr. Sholmes enjoy a friendly rivalry. Really? You rival the great Mr. Sholmes? That's incredible.
Oh, well, I don't know about that. Mr. Sholmes isn't a professional like myself, of course, but he does come with the goods from time to time.
Mr. Sholmes is equally complimentary about you, Inspector, isn't he? You've learned his highest praise. Gregson is to pick up a bad lot for Scotland Yarders. They were his own words. That's his highest praise? Well, Mr. Sholmes isn't particularly known for giving compliments, you see.
That he is not, and thanks to that magazine, my name's now all over London town now.
That's great, isn't it?
I have to admit, that to start with I was a little, well, flattered by all the attention. Everyone wanted to shake my hand, and reputation at the yard went through the roof.
It's wonderful.
No, it is not. There's nothing more sinister than the man on the street. People are always looking at me now. They're whispering rumors about me under their breath, I'm sure.
Rumors? Are you quite sure?
He's changed since it started appearing on those stories. The fame's gone to his head, stuff like that.
Gosh, do you really think people are saying such mean-spirited things about you?
Like I said, they whisper. I can't catch exactly what they're saying, but I know what folk are like. I'm sure is that what they're saying. They're as sure as eggs is eggs.
I get the feeling this detective could be very hard work. Oh dear, perhaps a sudden rise to fame does change people? The case. So, about the case that Lord Chief Justice mentioned before.
Nothing to tell, really. As far as concerned at the yard, it couldn't be simpler.
Oh dear, that probably means... As far as we're concerned as lawyers, it couldn't be more complicated. I wish you were wrong about that, but I have a nasty feeling you're right.
A young woman was walking around the pavement around by her room when she was stabbed from behind. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal, but she's still laid up in the hospital unconscious.
That's despicable. What sort of coward would attack the poor woman from behind? Suppose you would have finished whoever was it was off with a suicidal takedown, would you? That's neither here nor there, Mr. Naruhodo. Brace yourself, Ryuno escape. You've angered her now.
Anyway, after something of a whirlwind investigation, the criminal was arrested. He barely had time for a cup of tea after the incident took place, to be honest.
So there must have been something left at the scene that led you directly to the culprit? Or perhaps a reliable witness who had recognized the person in question?
Let me stop you right there. You're wasting your time on this one.
Sorry?
There's nothing you can do. There's no way you can help the bloke now.
Why ever not?
Simple. The prosecution has been assigned to the trial tomorrow as Lord Barack von Zeke.
No.
Sounds like you heard of him then.
Oh yes, we are very familiar with Lord von Zeke's, believed to be the harbinger of death itself, the Reaper of the Bailey. Lord Barack von Zeke, who we faced in court only yesterday. Mr. McGilda told us about him before the trial, didn't he? When von Zeke stands for the prosecution, they call him the cursed sacrificial lambs. And in every single trial he's been in prosecutor, the accused has always been damned. This Reaper of the Bailey nickname. I suppose he's earned that because every defendant he advocates is found guilty, is that it? Well, if that's the case, we should inform you, Inspector. And yesterday's trial against Lord Von Zeke, Mr. Hard secured a verdict of not guilty.
Huh. And what of it?
Oh, well, I think that means even against the Reaper of the Bailey, it's not impossible to save the defendant.
No, you really don't have a clue, do you?
What do you mean?
What happened to that bloke in the end, eh? He's dead. Magnus McGilda came to a cropper in the omnibus when it went up in flames. So you can't rightly say you saved the defendant, can you?
What? What are you saying?
Look, if Von Zeke were to get the dirt on stick on everyone, it would be a miracle worker. But that's not how it goes. He doesn't work miracles. He works ice, black magic. Have a good long think about that if I were you.
Are we really supposed to believe that?
Right, well, I filled you in and requested. I'm very nearly out of chips. I'll be heading back to the crime scene now. We're still carrying a few investigations there.
It was a Briar Road, you said, didn't you? Where the incident took place?
That's correct, ma'am. And if you head over to the holding cells, you meet the criminal himself.
You branded him a criminal already?
He's as good as shaking like a leaf in his cell, he is. He'll give you a chuckle if nothing else. He's inmate 53. Speak to the judge, he'll show you the way.
Inmate 53, thank you. Looks like we're going to meet with the criminal, I guess? So there's no helping anyone against the Reaper of the Bailey, they say. Does something trouble you, Mr. Naruhodo? To tell the truth, when I recall the trial yesterday, I can't stop myself from shaking. The idea of facing the Reaper in court again is... Well, if you think it's too much for you, there's no shame in turning the case down. That takes courage, too. But if the man they've arrested is innocent, you could well imagine he would be shaking like a leaf in his cell. I, for one, wouldn't find the sight of that funny. So, if I'm honest, I'm still reeling from the shock of yesterday's events myself, and I'm really not sure if I'll be able to help this man, whoever he is. I'd like to try, so I'm going to make some inquiries. Will you help? Did you really think you had to ask? After all, I'm your judicial assistant. Thank you. So then, shall we? Yes, let's go. Alright, I guess we're going... Should we go to the prison or Briar Road? Yeah! Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, okay, I'll just go to the prison, fuck it. Like, it's so hard to choose which way do you want to go. It's like in my first 2 Phoenix Wright games. 19th local prison cell 9. So these are the British prison cells. Oh, they're ghastly. It feels like a dungeon. Yes, having experienced it in Japan myself, I can assure you that our wooden cells feel a lot cozier than these cold stone walls. Oh, don't, Mr. Naruhodo. You're making it seem worse. Apparently a client is in this cell here, but it's so dark at the back there. I can't make him out. I wonder what he's like. Inmate 53, your legal representative is here to see you. Stop idling in the back of the cell. Show your face at once. My cat, as yet with a no name, calling me by a number is utterly unbelievable, unjustly unreasonable. I refuse to answer. So Naruhodo, what did you think was going on here? I have no idea, but I wasn't just hearing things, was I? That charade of complaints was in Japanese. Excuse me, but shh, quiet.
They're all around, hiding. I know they are. They're watching, listening, even now. I can sense it.
I'm gonna give him that voice, whatever. Right. So, could I ask you what
There you are! You come to curse me, haven't you? Don't try to hide it, you're a ghost!
Ghost? Mod check. You mean you know how I'm prisoner son? We're already calling you prisoner son. Fuck it. Are you Japanese by any chance?
This is beyond my waterless streams. Forgive me for the outburst before. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's fine. We were just a little surprised, that's all.
Imagine it! It's been 12 long months since I left my hometown, and here I am, in a fretful sick fix in a foreign land. So hearing the sweet, sentimental tones of a compatriot's voice here in this damp, dark hellhole was a most monumentally moving moment.
This guy is very energetic. Could have guessed that this new client Lord Strong has assigned to us would turn out to be a fellow Japanese.
What compassion my fellow countrymen show. To dispatch a first-class lawyer all the way from Japan to defend a mere foreign student. Noble, nurturing, never-failing Nippon!
First-class lawyer? Oh dear, I think there's been some misunderstanding here. I wonder, would you be so kind to tell us what happened? Why were you detained as a suspect, for example?
Yes, I can, I will. Chant, stay silent and silent!
I'm not quite sure I understand what he means, but he seems happy. Yes, he does. I just hope he actually has a good reason to be. Thank you for cooperation. I am a lawyer, as you said. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I am Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba.
I am a visiting student sent here by our government. Known to be notorious name Natsume. Sosuke Natsume.
Sosuke Natsume. Soseki Natsume-san. What an unusual name.
Calls me Sosuke, please. I'm a poet, you see, a writer of haiku. It's something of a nom de plume.
Nom de plume? You mean an alias? That's right, Naruhodo-san.
No, don't be so prosaic. It's much more refined than that.
And haiku, that really reminds me of home. Did I hear you say that you were a visiting student sent over here by the government?
Yes, that's right. A year ago, I was told to study English. First I had to suffer that misery, and now this is beyond the pale.
Suffer that misery? Do you not want to study here?
No, I mean, I just had an interest in Great Britain for some years, of course.
Oh.
But But just the government tells you to do something. It doesn't mean you can do it, do you? No?
What do you mean?
They told me to study English literature, that I could understood. That's my field. But no, but they told me to study the English language. Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable.
This guy is super energetic, I see.
Only the other day, I was told to send a report about my first year in here. I turned in a blank piece of paper. Wise words on whitewashing.
This guy is putting haikus everywhere. You must be a man of great standing.
Oh yes, I'm often told.
And often like to be told, it seems. Accusation against you. Could you perhaps tell us exactly why you've been arrested, Soseki-san?
I didn't do it. I didn't commit that atrocious murder.
Murder?
Oh, no, it's alright. That woman didn't actually die, did she? But she was stabbed with a knife, right before my eyes.
I'm pretty sure he's dead. She's dead. For your eyes, you mean? You saw the attacker?
I didn't see anyone.
What?
If I'd seen the person who did it, do you think I'd be locked up in here?
Oh dear, it seems that this case is becoming rather complicated.
Why me? Why me? Why did that silly woman have to be stabbed right in front of me? It's the curse of London. It's incredibly, irritatingly inconvenient.
So Soseki-san was there at the scene, but he didn't see the attacker. Let's find out if we find more about the case. About the case.
Now, excuse even just after snow had just cleared up heavy with the fog. I've been to the bookshop to buy some books. I was on my way back to our cursed lodgings. Sure, the bookshop wasn't a curse, too. But I was walking around like a cursed pavement. I could make out the sole silhouette of another head of me. Woman wearing green overcoat she was. Just over I went to overtake her. She suddenly let out this little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet.
How terrible.
I called out to the woman, but she didn't move. It was like a ghostly, ghoulish graveyard.
Slightly exaggeration there, perhaps.
I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my legs would carry me to the cursed lodgings.
That's not good.
Don't say it was shameful, I know. Just run away like that.
Tell me, Soseki-san, was the victim an acquaintance of yours?
Don't be ridiculous. Do you think I know any of these fair English and young women at that? I'm different than shy, timid, unsure. I can't talk to people.
I see. A young woman known to Soseki-san. And at the time it happened, who else did you see nearby? Did anyone pass you?
Incredibly. Apart from myself and the woman, I didn't see a soul.
No one? Oh, great. So the victim was unknown to you and there was nobody else on the street at the time? That creates something of a conundrum, doesn't it? What conundrum? Conundrum. What do you mean, Susato-san? What's the conundrum? Well, if what Soseki-san has been told is true, there's something I can't explain. He says that he didn't know the victim and there was no one else at the scene. And they apparently fled without being seen.
I did. But if that's the case, surely this man has...
But if that's the case, it surely has a man to be the culprit.
Ah, you! What did you just say?
Nothing, I didn't say anything. Oops, perhaps I thought a little too loudly there. Actually, that's not what was troubling me. What I was thinking was, how did Soseki-san actually come to be arrested? Sorry? He didn't touch the victim and there was nobody at the scene to see him, so how did the police ever discover that he was there in the first place? Yes, she's right.
It was him, that accursed great detective. He led the police to me. For all the bad luck.
Cursed great detective? Could it be?
Should never get that man's name as long as I live, with his haughty laugh and his self-proclaimed greatness. Brash, big-headed busybody, be gone.
Oh.
May you be cursed into the eyes of your days, Herlock Sholmes. Oh, it's Herlock. I had a feeling it was him. I knew it. Mr. Sholmes? Herlock Sholmes. Well, I didn't expect to hear that name from this man's lips, that's for sure. It was the morning after that nightmare had unfolded on the pavement before me. I was gnawing on the silver of hard cheese when some men suddenly burst in through the door. And he started shouting at me. "It's the police, put the weapon down." It was a thin silver, yes it was hard, but I wasn't eating a weapon. Disgusting dietary discrimination devils! You clearly had a trying morning yesterday. And there he was in the middle of all the policemen, grinning like a Cheshire cat. That Herlock Sholmes. It's actually Herlock Sholmes, he's English. I just found out he's a famous name in detection here in London. Yes, the great detective is really well known. His overly sharp mind managed to deduce my whereabouts, apparently. He thinks I'm the night-wielding madman. Me, this weak, stupid kitten of a man? Wonder what great deduction process led him to this conclusion this time. You mean to say, Mr. Sholmes' deduction was the only reason the police arrested you? That would be really most unreasonable. Well, the thing is, I was thrown into a panic when they barged their way in. Of course you were, that's only natural. I was terrified and trembling, and they kept throwing the question after question at me in an impossible English. Fiendish foreign inflammatory. Well, we are in England. You can't really blame them for questioning you in English. Good point, good point. But my mind went blank. I knew I had to answer, but I didn't know what to say. So I just keep repeating things like, yes, I do, and I'm fine. And the next thing I knew, I was in Manacles. Before I knew it, I was thrown in here. Oh dear, I'm afraid that's hardly surprising. I'm fine? He's not fine now. Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. Oh, you can just call me Naruhodo. And when we're speaking English, a simple mister is more than enough. Oh, yes, alright. Yes, they've really got to be. This country isn't poisoning my mind. But please, I beg you to defend me in the court tomorrow. You can tell what really happened. You'll do it, won't you? Well, Why? Why is it so hard to say yes to me? Well, the thing is, I'm just a student like yourself on a study tour. A student? I defended the case in the Old Bailey, the only the one though. But at this moment in time, I really don't know what I'm supposed to believe in. I'm confused about what justice in this country even means. Oh, Naruhodo-san. Not even the foreign student who's supposed to be here. Sort of a locum lawyer, I suppose. But that armband is the mark of a defense lawyer from our great empire. It's a keepsake from a man who should have been there. He was my best friend. A keepsake? I know exactly what they're saying about me. Oh, what do you mean? Lawyers, all the British defense lawyers. They won't defend me. Goodness, why? Why do you say that? For the same reason you noted before. What happened? There was only the victim and myself around, but I ran away from the scene of the crime. I'm not a fool. I know what it looks as though it must be the culprit. But it must be very hard for you, Saseki-san. And anyway, I'm a student from overseas. I'm just a foreign nobody to them, and somebody not to be trusted. I heard them openly laughing about me before, and my earshot without any compunction at all. Any trial for this man would be a waste of time, they said, and of course the foreigner did it. They even had the gall to say, the man doesn't understand half of what's being said anyway. That's awful. They're wrong! I've studied more English than half the policemen out there in the streets. I've traveled halfway around the world to learn about these countries and its great history. But no one wants to listen to a man with a strange accent. They all hate me. And at the very least, I like to entrust my fate to someone who can listen to me in my native tongue. You could do it, couldn't you? When I look into your eyes, I can see it. I can see what you've been through. Saseki-san, it's just that... Give me a little time, please.
I'll do what I can, for the time being.
What do you mean?
We shall investigate the case as thoroughly as possible. If we can find some clues, it'll give us a much more better chance, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, thank you. I'll be here all alone, waiting for you. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
Should be going then, Naruhodo-san. I have a case to prepare for. Well, I guess we're moving. Alright, let's go to Briar Road now. '19th of February, Briar Road. So this is where it happened. Briar Road. Ah, look, Mr. Naruhodo. Look at that regulator metal helmet. It's unmistakable. The men of Scotland Yard are here as investigating as we speak. That is their job, you know? Mr. Naruhodo, seen one with my own eyes. They're often depicted in the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, but I never dreamed to ever come this close. The real Bobby's helmet. What? The helmet? Hee, of course. I have to try one on one day. Well, I hope your Hattie dream comes true.
What's the Japanese delegation doing here?
Oh, Inspector Gregson.
This isn't a tourist trial, I'm afraid you are well aware.
Yes, of course, we're here to investigate.
Same here with the holding cells then. What do you make of the criminal?
He's not a criminal as you put it, Inspector. He's a suspect.
We'll see about that. You Japanese like to stick together, I suppose. Well, do what you will. It doesn't bother me. The bloke's in court tomorrow, whatever happens, and the verdict's a foregone conclusion.
The stone cold air of rejection. Take heart. London at this time of year is full of cold, stone cold air. And that makes it worse somehow. Explore. Oh, that's Scotland Yard carriage. Use vehicles like that to rush to crime scenes and car away criminals. Very well informed, aren't you? It's long been a dream of mine to ride on one of those through the streets of London. Well, just pick up a stone and throw it at one of those windows then. But that would mean being arrested in order to ride it, wouldn't it? Still, if it's the only way, help me find a good stone. No, I wasn't serious. Hee, what a delightful snowman. I didn't realize English had a tradition of making snowmen as well. It looks a little creepy though. Oh, it has a scarf, look. And even if you're out in this freezing cold all the time, I wish I had one. I'm afraid our budget is somewhat frozen at the moment too. We certainly can't afford a scarf. We're poor, aren't we? Surely the snowman here would miss his. But the person who made the snowman certainly would. Yes, I know, you're right. Anyway, even if I borrowed it, it wouldn't do much to warm my neck, would it? It's covered in snow. That's one of the officers of Scotland Yard. The police are making sure the crime scene is undisturbed. Feeling that if we wander too close, we'll be clapped in irons. I think perhaps you're being a little overly cautious. We've done nothing wrong, so we have no cause for concern. Oh no, I'm not getting caught out again. Twice is enough. Twice I ever find myself in handcuffs despite knowing a thing about what was going on. Yes, you had some dreadful experiences. Sure, that's why that look of panic you're so prone to. It does you no favors at all. Ugh. Oh, a British bicycle, look. Although the wheels misshapen, I'm sure it couldn't possibly be ridden anymore. Someone must have been doing some breakneck cycling. Seems bicycles have become extremely popular in London recently. There's even a movement to change in women's dress to allow them to ride as well. Bicycle fad won't last. I don't see why anyone would want to ride something like that. Goodness, do you like this? Do you dislike this bicycles? No, not at all. I mean, it's not that I dislike them exactly. It's just that any occupation that involves taking both your feet off firm ground seems reckless. If you ever tried walking on stilts and falling into a room, I know you agree with me. We'll have to hire a bicycle sometime. You can sit behind me while I ride you. That's a rather typical old brick building, isn't it? I'm sure it has a long, interesting history. Well, the time certainly has taken its toll on the place. It's crooked and sagging all over. In fact, it looks decidedly worse shaped than the other houses around here. Let's find some cheap lodgings as soon as possible. Yes, you're right. Cheap, but ideally with reasonably level floors. Oh, look at the windows of that building there. Are you sure they're windows? Yes, but they're filled with bricks. Oh, you're right. I wonder why. Perhaps it's an empty property where nobody lives at the moment. There's some smoke coming out of the chimneys as though. Oh dear, everything still feels very foreign. So much we have to learn about this place. Well, that is the case of a new area, of course. The clouds look so big and heavy in the sky, do they? With the dense fog as well, everything looks hazy. Well, it is known as Foggy London Town. Just make out some sort of spire through the fog. It looks like it's still being built, though. Huh, yes, that must be the Crystal Tower being built in a great exhibit that's about to open in 6 months' time. Apparently, it's going to be very striking, glazed on all sides, and the symbolic centerpiece of the exhibition. Be a large exposition in history, is it? I can't even begin to imagine it. Well, I think he looked around. Alright, let's converse. Tell me about Scotland Yard, Detective. Ever since I read about it in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I've been fascinated by the place.
Yard. The most sophisticated policing organization you'll find anywhere in the world, ma'am.
Oh, and you know, I always dreamed of wearing a real Bobby's helmet. It does make them look the part, seeing that the policeman there with his helmet on. You certainly get the sense that this is a man who will take no nonsense in his duty of protecting the city. Oh yes, doesn't he look wonderful?
Being a Londoner hobby is hard going, I tell you.
Oh really?
First thing in the morning, you know what he does? Goes around and rouses all the laborers in his head, and they get off to work.
What? He wakes people up?
Yup, raps on the windows with a long pole. Did it myself, going back a bit.
I had no idea.
The Bobby works for the people of the town. It's just another one of his duties. After that, he starts tirelessly patrolling the streets all day long. Has to cover 20 miles a day. That's the regulation distance.
Can't really imagine how far that is. It sounds like a long way. Let me see. 20 miles. That's approximately the distance from Tokyo to Yokohama. On foot? That's definitely taking things a step too far.
And when it gets dark, of course. He has the important job of lighting all the gas street lamps.
Oh my. Suppose in between all of those duties, hobbies are expected to investigate cases as well. And chase after criminals trying to evade the law.
I'm not sure you could call it in between exactly, but more alongside. Yes. They're expected to handle these jobs as well. We do have men keeling over from time to time, I admit.
Always dream of wearing one of those helmets, as I said. But it's with a heavy heart that I shall have to relinquish that dream to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Your heavy heart will be heavy-headed if you would. If you do.
Happened around 5 in the evening 2 days ago. Just around that open bit of pavement. Victim, a young woman, was stabbed in the blade from behind.
Is that right? Is that the lady still unconscious now? You mentioned she's being treated in the hospital.
Never said she was a lady. Truth is, unless she comes around pretty smart, artist, we'll be able to find out much more about her.
Suppose that means we haven't been able to take a statement from her, of course.
Here's a map of the local area I happen to have on me. You can take it if you want.
Really? Are you sure?
Yard Police to give lawyers defending suspects the odd bit of info they go on.
Haven't accepted a job yet, but still. Thank you, Inspector. They gratefully accept. Local map and they entered the courtroom.
Anyway, as far as we know, there's no one else in the scene other than the victim and your fellow countrymen. Who did it, do you think? Not much of a head scratcher, is it?
Well, I know Mr. Matsumi has also claimed to not have seen anyone else around, but just because he didn't see anyone, it doesn't mean that we can be sure that nobody else was present.
Sorry to have to tell you, but we most certainly can be sure.
How?
Because, ma'am, the precise moment of the stabbing didn't go unnoticed.
What?
We have two very reliable witnesses, no less. It was typical foggy London day, and your client obviously didn't see it.
There were witnesses now? Let me check the court record. This happened here. This is Briar Road. This is Mearsham Street. Calabash Road. I have a feeling that this is gonna be very important. This could be like determines like how do I say this? Like maybe the route? Criminal activity route? I don't know. We need to know people's locations. Who are these witnesses, Inspector?
Fellow and his wife, a man up to one of the most reliable and respected citizens in all of London. He's a copper from the Scotland Yard.
A policeman? That might change things? This policeman just happened to be there at the exact moment the woman was attacked?
Nothing peculiar about that, ma'am. Part of the farce, and being a hot bobby, catching them banging the act and all that.
Do you think it might be possible for us to ask the policeman a few questions?
Be my guest. You can ask him what you like. In court tomorrow.
Oh.
I've no doubt he'll be summoned as a witness. So that'll give you something to look forward to.
And that's that then. He's got no intention of letting us meet the man beforehand, it seems. Policeman and witness the incident? As your judicial assistant, I must warn you that this could make our job very difficult indeed. Yes, as a non-judicial assistant, you could have warned me of that too.
Oh yes, one more thing, Inspector. What?
The person who led you to the suspect. Here that was Mr. Sherlock Sholmes.
What are you bringing him up for?
Was it something I said? The color in his drained from his cheeks.
Who did you hear that name from?
Oh, well, it was Matsumi you mentioned it. He said that Mr. Sholmes was with the police when they entered his lodgings. She was the result of Mr. Sholmes' inspirational great deductions.
Fiddle-faddle! That man's an amateur. I'm getting sick and tired of him showing his mug everywhere.
Oh?
I don't know where he gets this information from, but it turns up at the scene of the crime. Wanders around to spouting incomprehensible rubbish before you know it. He claims to have solved the case.
Yes, he's quite astounding, isn't he? He is a great help to Scotland Yard, though, isn't he?
Gibble gabble. Ever seen this before?
Oh yes, that's Rant's magazine. Wonderful publication in which the adventures of Sherlock Sholmes appears.
Yes, well, that wonderful publication, as you put it, sees fit to include several of the Yard's detectives in the stories. This so-called great detective makes a mockery of all of us. You ask anyone at the Yard, it's a misadventure to be included to Sherlock Sholmes' tale at all.
Well, I suppose there is an element of that.
We work our socks up, every one of us, only to be frumped by the public that thanks to the obnoxious detective. Man's as dangerous to a Scotland Yard as to us all are criminals.
That can't really be true, can it, Inspector? Well, you did great detective and the police have a complex relationship.
That twitchy Japanese book goes on trial tomorrow. Are you going to defend him or not?
Well,
makes no difference to me, but I will just say this. No London lawyer can worth his salt to attach this case with a barge pole.
Well, because the prosecution is being handled by the Reaper to Bailey, you mean?
There's nowhere to save the man now. It's a waste of time trying. It's all a bit strange, though.
Sorry?
The Reaper. He hasn't appeared in court for a good few years now.
Yes, we did hear something to that effect.
And the only people who usually were the real scum, the master criminals, the violent ones.
But master criminals? The violent ones?
That's right. He handpicks his victims. Only deals are guaranteed to go to the gallows for their sins.
But Mr. Natsumi wouldn't hang for what he's accused of, surely.
That's just my point, Sunshine. The young woman was stabbed, but it did kill her. Couldn't even say the intent was there. So this isn't the sort of case I'd be expecting the Reaper to sink his teeth into, for want of a better phrase.
Well, it's not exactly a minor infraction, is it?
No, there's gotta be more to it. Some reason he's taking an interest.
Really? What sort of reason, Inspector?
You think I can tell what's going on in the inside of that Lord of Darkness? You have to ask him yourself at tomorrow's trial.
Really? You're gonna have to face the Reaper again? The Lord of Darkness, as he put it. Well, we got no choice anyway. Well, I don't think we're going to get any more useful info out of the detective. Mr. Naruhodo, can I make a suggestion? Oh, yes, what is it? Well, it seems to me that we must speak with him about this. You don't mean him. By him, do you mean Mr. Sholmes? Yes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, exactly. Looking at those shining eyes, you can't wait, can you? Well, Mr. Natsumi did blame Mr. Sholmes for all of this, didn't he? Yes, he did. He really did. This makes him an involved party in the case. Are you just going to ignore that? I hope not. Sure, it's not simply my selfish desire to meet with Mr. Sholmes again. The trouble is, we have no idea of the man's address even. It's Baker Street. How do you know that? He gave us his address? It's in the stories, of course. 221 B. Baker Street, the most famous address in the world. Oh, I see. Well, there's nothing to stop us from going, I suppose. We better try to find our way there before the sun gets more exciting and unpredictable. Hurrah! Summon a carriage. Well, we have a reunion already with the great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Well, I'm gonna save the game, so next time on Grace Ace Attorney Chronicles, I'm guessing we're gonna meet with Herlock Sholmes again. And hopefully we can get info out of him. So I guess I'll see you guys all next time.